Verse of the day. Then you will prosper, if you take care to fulfill the statutes and judgments with which the Lord charged Moses concerning Israel. Be strong and of good courage, do not fear nor be dismayed. 1 Chronicles chapter 22 verse 13. 1 Chronicles chapter 22 describes David's instructions to his son Solomon as Solomon prepares to take on the responsibility of building the temple. Although David desired to build the temple himself, God appointed Solomon for this task. In this verse, David encourages Solomon to remain steadfast in obeying God's laws and commands given through Moses, assuring him that obedience will lead to prosperity. David also encourages Solomon to be strong and courageous, knowing that the task ahead is daunting. This exhortation reflects David's understanding of God's faithfulness and highlights the importance of strength, courage, and obedience in fulfilling God's calling. This verse emphasizes obedience, strength, and courage as essential to fulfilling God's purposes. Then you will prosper, if you take care to fulfill the statutes and judgments. David assures Solomon that success and prosperity are tied to obedience to God's commandments. It's not merely material prosperity, but a life aligned with God's will that brings true success. Be strong and of good courage. David's words remind Solomon that following God's call requires both inner strength and unwavering courage. Do not fear nor be dismayed. David's encouragement to reject fear underscores trust in God's presence and provision, knowing God will guide and sustain Solomon in this significant work. In essence, 1 Chronicles chapter 22 verse 13 teaches that true prosperity comes from obedience to God, and strength and courage are essential qualities for walking in His will. It encourages believers to face challenges without fear, trusting that God equips those He calls. In Joshua chapter 1 verse 8-9, God tells Joshua, "This book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, for then you will make your way prosperous." Like Solomon, Joshua was encouraged to be strong, courageous, and committed to God's commands for success. In Deuteronomy chapter 31 verse 6, "Be strong and of good courage, do not fear, for the Lord your God, He is the one who goes with you." Moses' words to Israel reflect David's encouragement to Solomon, emphasizing courage in God's presence. In Psalm chapter 1 verse 1-3, this psalm describes the blessed person who meditates on God's law, promising that they will prosper in all they do, much like the promise given to Solomon. In John chapter 14 verse 15, Jesus says, "If you love me, keep my commandments." Just as Solomon's success was tied to obedience, Jesus calls his followers to show their love for him through obedience. In 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 7, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." This reflects the encouragement to be courageous and free from fear, trusting in God's provision. In James chapter 1 verse 25, "But whoever looks into the perfect law of liberty and continues in it, this one will be blessed in what he does." James emphasizes that obedience to God's word leads to blessing, similar to the message in 1 Chronicles chapter 22 verse 13. 1 Chronicles chapter 22 verse 13 encourages believers to commit wholeheartedly to obeying God's word, knowing that obedience is the foundation of true prosperity. For today's church, this verse calls us to prioritize faithfulness to God's commands, understanding that real success is a life lived in alignment with His will. Like Solomon, we are called to face challenges with courage, relying on God's strength rather than our own. This verse also serves as a reminder that God's call often involves stepping into difficult roles or tasks, but His promise to be with us enables us to overcome fear. As the church, we are invited to embrace God's guidance with strength and courage, living in faithful obedience and trusting Him to bring about His purposes. God bless you and give you grace after grace.